trapped in a lodge with a dangerous woman who believes they're all dead. Today, I'll be recapping a horror drama film called The Lodge, so keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. The film begins with a woman named Laura, who is taking her two children, Aiden and Mia, to visit their father, Richard. When they arrive, Richard shocks Laura by telling her that he is now engaged to his new girlfriend, Grace, and they're planning to get married in the fall. This news sends Laura into a fit of anger, and she storms out of the house, upset and hurt. When she gets home, Laura can't handle the pain anymore, and in a tragic moment, she takes her own life. The tension and sadness that follow this heartbreaking event set the tone for the dark events that unfold in the movie. After Laura is laid to rest, her family is left heartbroken. Everyone is sad and struggling with the loss, but Mia is especially devastated. Being from a strong Catholic family, Mia believes that Laura won't be able to go to heaven because of the way she ended her life. This belief fills her with a deep sense of guilt and confusion, and she can't stop thinking about it. The weight of this thought makes her even more upset as she struggles with the idea of forgiveness and faith. 6 months later, Richard sits down with Aiden and Mia to tell them his plan. He says they will be spending Christmas at Grace's family's lodge in Massachusetts. His hope is that the trip will help them bond and start fresh as a family. But Aiden and Mia are both really upset. They don't want to go because they blame Grace for their mother's death. Aiden even shouts at Richard, calling him out for choosing a psycho over their mom, Laura. The tension between the kids and Richard is clear as they struggle to accept this new woman in their lives. Aiden and Mia decide to do some digging on Richard's computer. They want to learn more about Grace's past. When they find an article, they discover something shocking. Grace was once part of a religious cult led by her father. The cult had a scary belief, and in the end, everyone but Grace committed suicide so she could live and pass on their teachings. The article even has photos of the cult members, all blindfolded with tape over their mouths that has the word sin written on it. Aiden and Mia are stunned by what they find. Even though Richard knows about this dark part of Grace's past, he and Grace both want the kids to understand that she has left the cult behind. They want to believe that Grace has tried to live a normal life now, but the dark history still hangs over them, making it hard for the kids to trust her. The kids finally agree to go with Richard and Grace on their trip to the lodge. They also bring Grace's dog, Grady, along for the ride. Once they arrive, Grace really tries to connect with Aiden and Mia, but the kids are still very distant and cold toward her. They don't want to get close to someone they don't trust. As they settle in, Grace and Richard head into another room. The kids can hear them laughing and joking around, which only makes the kids feel more uncomfortable. It's clear that things are awkward, and the kids are not ready to accept this new life their father is trying to build. Everyone heads outside to the icy lake to spend some time together, but things take a turn when Grace steps outside wearing a hat that once belonged to Laura. This upsets Aiden and Mia even more, and they feel even more distant from her. Not long after, Mia accidentally drops a doll into the freezing water and tries to reach for it. Grace quickly moves to help her, but as she steps out onto the ice, it suddenly breaks, and Grace falls through the cold water. Richard rushes over and manages to pull her out just in time. It's a close call, and the kids are left shaken by the accident, feeling more uneasy about everything around them. Richard gets a call to go back to the city for work, and he tells Grace that he will return for Christmas. In the meantime, he leaves her in charge of the kids. Before he leaves, he gives her his gun, just in case something goes wrong. While Grace tries her best to bond with Aiden and Mia, they continue to push her away, either ignoring her or being rude. One day, Aiden secretly watches Grace while she's taking a shower. Grace quickly calls him out for spying on her, and it becomes clear to her that the kids will never see her as a replacement for their mother, Laura. However, Grace doesn't give up. She slowly gets Mia to warm up to her by sitting down together and watching TV. While it's not perfect, things start to change little by little as they try to find common ground. The next day, Grace starts to notice something strange. Some of her belongings are missing, including her medication and food. To make things worse, a snowstorm rages outside, trapping them at the lodge. The electricity goes out, and even their phones stop working. Grace begins to suspect that Aiden and Mia are playing tricks on her. She gets frustrated and snaps at them, even swearing, but they deny it. They tell her that some of their own things have gone missing too. As Grace walks around the cabin, she notices even stranger things. Clocks showing a later time than before, and the word repent written on a mirror. The tension builds as Grace realizes something is off, and then, even Grady, the dog, disappears. Everyone is left wondering if something sinister is at play. As the days pass, Grace becomes more and more anxious. She's running out of her medication, and the cold and hunger only make things worse. One day, she thinks she hears Mia talking on the phone, so she barges into the room, ready to call her out. But when she enters, she finds the phone is off, and Mia was just pretending to talk. Things continue to get weirder. Grace starts hearing the voice of her father, who used to preach sermons, even though he's not there. Without her meds, Grace begins sleepwalking and seeing strange visions, adding to her growing fear. Aiden tells her he had a dream that the heater broke and killed them all. He even says that he thinks they're already dead. The lines between reality and nightmare start to blur, leaving everyone feeling more and more trapped. Grace tries to leave the lodge and go into town to find help, but she ends up getting completely lost. She walks through the cold, barely able to see anything around her. After a long time, she stumbles upon a strange cabin shaped like a cross. She swears she sees her father standing there, calling to her, but it all feels strange and unreal. Confused and scared, Grace finally makes her way back to the lodge. Once inside, she discovers a framed picture of Aiden and Mia, with the words, "In loving memory," written underneath. There's also a story about how they all died from carbon monoxide poisoning on December 22nd. Shocked and confused, Grace doesn't know what to believe anymore. Aiden keeps insisting that they're all dead, which only makes things more frightening. Later, Grace finds Aiden hanging, but he seems completely unaffected by it, like it's part of some kind of twisted proof. Aiden tells her that they're all stuck in purgatory, neither alive nor fully dead. The horror and confusion grow as the lines between life and death start to fade away completely. Grace finally snaps, and in a panic, goes outside into the snow. She walks aimlessly, her knees sinking into the deep snow as she prays for help. When she returns, she's carrying Grady, the dog, who has sadly frozen to death. This shocks Mia, and she breaks down in tears. She blames herself for what happened, saying that she left the door open and let Grady get out into the cold. Feeling hopeless, Grace becomes more convinced than ever that they are stuck in purgatory, a place where they can only atone for their sins. She believes they have no choice but to suffer until they're forgiven. Mia begs Grace to come back inside, but Grace doesn't listen. She stays outside all night, lost in her thoughts and prayers, while Mia stays inside, overwhelmed by guilt and fear. The cold and isolation seem to close in on them as the night drags on. Grace starts to punish herself, believing she needs to atone for her sins. She burns her legs on hot logs as part of her penance. Meanwhile, Aiden and Mia begin to feel guilty and worried for Grace. It's revealed that they had been tricking her the whole time, making her think she was going crazy. They had stolen her medication and other belongings, hiding them in a crawl space to make her feel more confused. They also secretly drugged her tea and played recordings of her father's voice to mess with her mind. Realizing how much they've pushed Grace, Aiden and Mia grow terrified of her. Fearing her reactions, they lock themselves in the attic, trying to stay safe. What started as a cruel game now leaves them all trapped in fear, unsure of what will happen next. The next morning, Richard finally returns to the lodge, but when he finds Grace, she's frostbitten and completely lost in her mind. She's holding Richard's gun, and the kids are with her. Richard tries to calm her down, but Grace is certain they're all dead. She even holds the gun to her head and pulls the trigger, thinking it will prove her point. In a panic, Richard tries to take the gun from her, but in the chaos, Grace shoots him in the head, instantly killing him. Aiden and Mia rush to their father's body in shock and horror before running outside, desperate to escape. Aiden tries to start the car, but it's stuck in the snow. Just as they think they might get away, Grace catches up to them. The horror continues to build, and there's no escaping the madness that surrounds them. Grace sits Aiden, Mia, and Richard's lifeless body at the table. With a cold and strange calmness, she forces the kids to sing a church hymn, her eyes blank and distant. After they finish, she takes tape and places it over their mouths, writing the word sin on it. The room is eerily silent, except for the soft sound of the tape sticking. Grace places the gun in the center of the table, her hands trembling slightly as she stares at it. The tension in the room is thick, as the children sit frozen, unable to escape the nightmare that has taken over their lives. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below, and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps.